What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video here on the CUO4 YouTube channel. It's just a recap of the fans forum that happened yesterday evening. In case you didn't see it or just wanted a bit of a recap on it, I thought I'd make some notes during the forum and get them back to you as a mini video just to see if you guys would be interested in this. Now, before we even start, it's great to see Tom and everyone being so involved and everything with just being open with the club and open with the fans. The enthusiasm for fans participation will always get the fans on board, and it's really good to see how open they are. You can see them before the game. They've got these opportunities, and just having the access to talk to Paul Simpson as well, along with the others that were on the panel too. So it's really good to see. It's a great event. And to kick things off, they were talking about are they going to open up the forums, to anyone in sort of West Cumbria or South West Cumbria. I know there's talk about, I think they were trying to get one either in Keswick or Kendal with Tom and family, so that's a work in progress. But they did say that they are available when they're over in the UK. They want to be available to talk to fans, whether that's in Carlisle or within sort of West Cumbria, South Cumbria. Now, for me, I used to live out of West Cumbria, about an hour away from Carlisle, so things like this were hard to get to. Obviously now I've moved to Carlisle, it's a lot easier, but it's really good to see that they're looking to branch out further into sort of West Cumbria and South Cumbria to give other people an opportunity to ask their questions and stuff. So that's a really good thing that I think the Piatak family have brought. They're bringing that fan participation, and yeah, you just can't complain. That's fantastic. And then we moved on to Paul Simpson thanked the supporters for the support in the Northampton game. Sort of recognising the fan support behind himself, obviously after the Blackpool game and stuff. So he thanked the supporters for that. And then they moved on to talks of a training facility, and they're looking at the training facility. Is there anywhere in mind? Nigel has apparently been to a few sites. There's been 3 or 4 sites identified. There could be a possible thing, and apparently the local community have been really good with accommodating that as well. And as I say, Nigel has been to a couple of the sites that have been identified, and they're going to be looking at the others in due time. So that's a really positive step as well, to get that training facility. Obviously that's sort of a longer term project, but fantastic to see that the process is already sort of in play to try and get that area of land. And what I noticed as well is that Paul Simpson was saying that he wants that at first to be for the men's and the under-18 academy team, but then he wants the women's team to come, the academies, all to be in this training facility. So that's really good to have everyone on site, that including the women's team as well. That's really good as a club. Moving on next into sort of the pure pay debt. Obviously that's in the rear view mirror now, but it was mentioned and it was sort of said that the club possibly could have done more for it to the whole situation to be dealt with a little bit better, but it's resolved and we don't have to worry about that anymore. But there was an admission there that the club could have handled it better in the past, and how we went forward. But yeah, moving on next end to the half season tickets. Obviously popular in the last couple of seasons, or so it would seem. Apparently they have been stopped because there's a bit of a lack of interest. There wasn't much renewal in them last season, and when they put out feelers if anyone will be interested this season, apparently there was a boost in season ticket numbers itself this season, and there was a lack of interest in the half season ticket promo. So that's not going to happen this season, but there are flexi cards available for sort of 6 to 7 games at a time, so that could be a good option for someone who can't make every game with a season ticket. I know it can be tough sometimes. I mean, there's times where I've got a season ticket and something comes up on a Saturday you book something ahead in advance and you just completely miss the fact that Carlisle are home that weekend. So it can be difficult to get to every game, but if that's something that is not possible for you to get to every game, that flexi card could be a good idea and save a bit of money in the meantime. Moving into the improvements across the stadium, then obviously there's been a lot of graphical designs in and around the thing. The banners with the players looks really good. The graphics overall look really good. The new sort of backing in the East Stand, this sponsorship and stuff, looked really fresh. On Saturday, I noticed. I could be completely mistaken here, but I thought the speakers sounded a bit louder. Whether that's just the fact that they've maybe been turned up, I'm not sure. But that sounded a bit more clear and a bit more louder as well. But they were talking about the East Stand improvements, which have come first, and they're also looking at improvements in the Warwick as well. The improvements they were talking about in the Warwick was the toilets, sort of concessions for food and drinks, and they're also looking at a fan zone as well for the Warwick, so that could be very interesting. And it's obviously great to see that there's so many improvements are happening in such a short period of time. They've also said that the plans for the improvement at Brunton Park will always be Brunton Park. They're not going to take that away. They just want to modernise Brunton Park and make it into a stadium, that it should be, with more, a bit more, just looking a bit more modern, because the place does look a little bit run down in places. So that's really good, and I'm sure the supporters group will have a good hand as well in supporters going in over some sort of breaks, probably in summer, maybe even before summer, to go and spruce the pace up as well, which is always good. But that's the plan, to keep Brunton Park as it is. It's just, put money into Brunton Park to develop it as a, make it look like a newer stadium. There is plans for this that were there last night in the Glass Bar, but they will be releasing it as an online, sort of manifesto. So if you wanted to see that, you can give your feedback on that once it comes out online. So that would be really good as well if you haven't seen it. They'll be coming out online. You can give your feedback as a fan base. What do you think and everything? Which is, again, really good to keep the supporters invested in this journey that we're on. And then there was the talk of more hospitality over in the main stand. There will apparently the hospitality sells out every single week, and they've got more demand for it. So they're looking at more hospitality as well there, which can always be a good thing. I've never done hospitality at Carlisle, to be honest. Maybe something to tick off the list, but of course having the season ticket, you've got your seat each week anyway. But so the hospitality is something that they're looking to get more into. Then moving on, they were talking about player salaries, and do they still have to pay? God, I can't speak here. Do they still have to pay people's salary once they're injured? Basically, short story, yes. The insurance covers the surgeries or appointments and things like that, however, and scans and stuff. But in terms of paying the salary, the player's on a contract, and yes, they have to pay the salary. Moving into something that's a little bit more exciting, the injury one. Obviously, I mentioned this in my breaking news as well, but Hunt, Ellis and Taylor Charters seem to be available. Moxon hopefully available for the Cheltenham game this Saturday. So there goes my XI prediction. But also Coyote should be back for the 1st of January, so that's some positive news as well. But looking into something then that is the interesting part, Luke Armstrong signed the contract. Great signing for Carlisle. Simo's looking for 6 or 7 more players. And that's to bolster the squad. He said 2 or 3 of them to move on for their best interests and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see who that may be. I think a lot of the fans have the same sort of names in their head, to be fair. I'll keep my opinion on that one quiet for now, but I imagine who the 2 or 3 possibly may be. But 2 or 3 players to move on, and then 6 or 7 players to come in. He said he wanted a goalkeeper, a striker, a couple of midfielders, and a centre-back if the right centre-back is available. So that's very interesting. But he said not to expect any before January, basically. So we've got that nice little wait now between the Christmas period in January before we get any more signings. But obviously Luke Plange Luke Armstrong is over the line. And to be fair, I probably imagine Luke Plange will be getting an extension on that loan deal. The way that he spoke about with the management, he's very highly rated, isn't he, with the management? So I imagine Luke Plange probably gets that contract extension as well. They were saying about the will there be any ticket offers this season for any home games, like the 10k to MK? What was the one for Tranmere called? We did one for Tranmere, didn't we? I can't think what that was called. I can't think what it was called, but there was 10k for MK a few years ago, which was a great scheme, and then I can't remember the one for Tranmere, to be honest with you. But they said they will be doing a ticket deal for a home game. They're going to try and pick out a home game that will be a good one. That will be after Christmas, so look out for that. Probably March, April time, if I'm to guess. But yeah, that will be coming too. And then we're looking at match day programmes. They basically said that it's an option potentially in the future, but they won't be doing match day programmes. They saw the very consistent number of programmes each week that made it sort of not worth the time to print them. Me personally, I like a programme. You know, since I got my season ticket 3 years ago. I've got a programme every single time I came to the match. You know, just having your own money at a football game and stuff, and not going with, like, you know, family members when you're younger. You can buy a programme and stuff like that. And I think I've got a programme for every game I've been to since lockdown, since 2020. So it's a shame that they're not there, but the posters are apparently proven very popular. I still pick one of them up each week. I don't know why, because they just sit in the cupboard with all the programmes. But it's nice to have. But the programmes have proven very popular. The kids get them signed by the lads and stuff, which is always great to see as well. Looking at the club budget then, our club budget last season was one of the bottom 6 in League Two. And then obviously we had a miracle season that got promoted. Our club budget has apparently went up by 50%. And we're still in the bottom 6 of League One clubs. Now, don't get me wrong. Nigel was saying that there's such a massive array of budgets in League One that there's such a difference. Like it's a massive difference. You can believe it, can't you? With teams like, you know, Portsmouth, Blackpool, Bolton. You know, even teams like Wigan have got money and stuff like that. You know, massive clubs that shouldn't be in League One are obviously going to have more money than Carlisle, who have spent the last decade in League Two, type of thing, in debt. So it's expected that we don't have one of the biggest budgets, but with the management team in place, I'm confident we'll be all right to continue our little run in League One. Hopefully have a really good transfer window on that budget. And you've seen what Paul Simpson can do on a budget anyway, so I don't think there should be anything alarming there. I don't think that's anything new for the fans. Then we're talking about the Paquet family expanding the business into the UK, looking at haulage companies and stuff. I'm just I'll leave that. I can't go into much detail with that one there, to be honest. We're then talking about the penalty system. Someone asked about why Jordan Gibson didn't take a penalty in the playoff final. Paul Simpson was talking about pressure points for penalties, and that the FA did a lot of research with England around it all and stuff, and there's 5 pressure points for taking the penalty: the huddle, the stand and watching, the walk up, the putting the ball down, taking the penalty. Really interesting piece, actually. I've did some coaching myself in the past, with an under-12s team all the way through to under-17s. So that's a really insightful bit to listen to from Paul Simpson. And I won't go into too much detail on that one, but if you've got an interesting coaching or anything like that, really interesting point with Simo and working with the FA there. So really check that out if you can. But then talking about the new staff, obviously we've been hiring a lot of new staff recently, and they've been, apparently we had one of the lowest staff rosters in Sky Bet League 1 and 2. So they're just looking to boost that up and to give the lads a bit more support, because they ran off the feet, which is always good to hear. And then they moved on to talk about the links with the local hospital and A&E, and the links with the University of Cumbria as well. And then to finish off, it was just sort of a question about how do they respond to criticism, that being everyone on the board, how do they respond to criticism? And they all answered with their individual answers. So yeah, there you go. I hope that I've managed to cover everything that was said in an hour and a half, a bit more briefly for you guys in around 15 minutes or so there. But again, well done to everybody who does these events, because they're really good to be a part of as a fan. Even if you don't get to be there in the stadium, you know, I believe they're live streamed on YouTube as well. So an absolutely fantastic event as per usual, and I imagine there will be some more in the coming months and everything, so keep your eyes out for them. But for now, I hope you have enjoyed this little recap. I've been CU4, and I'll see you in the next one.
Lost my vision, I lost my goal, lost my ambition, but you never